Emma said she hated self-important upper-class people the most, so I never told her my identity. But after she got a big brand endorsement, she was photographed by paparazzi kissing a strange man in a luxury car. And she took the opportunity to admit the relationship. I looked at the overwhelming news on my phone and the breakup text from Emma, sneered, and said to the secretary, "Cut off all care for Emma from today." I sat on the soft president's sofa and looked at the news photos on my phone. In the photos, Emma smiled like a flower, sitting in a red sports car and hugging a man's neck to kiss wildly. There were also photos of them entering the hotel together. Emma never meant to hide herself from the beginning to the end, and there were photos from all angles. Oh, I forgot that with her current status, she didn't seem a need to hide. She was able to climb from a small 18th-tier little star to a hot new generation flower in the entertainment industry now, and every step she took was extremely smooth. Both the entertainment industry and public opinion had a very good impression of her. Not to mention that now she has received the endorsement of the international brand EL, and her resources are all the way popular. In this process, falling in love is just a matter of mutual love. No one will think it's inappropriate. On the contrary, some people will say she is free and easy and desperate for love, but no one knows that her resources and reputation are all controlled by me behind the scenes. When I first met her, she sobbed and told me that she didn't want to bear the dirty rules of the entertainment industry and the people who made these rules. She vowed to stand under the spotlight cleanly. It's ridiculous that I really believed it at that time and accompanied her for so many years. Now that she thinks she is enough to be independent and insists on parting ways with me, let her go. I put down my phone and said to the secretary standing in front of me, "Stop all care for Emma. Please help me tell those directors that they don't need to show my face from now on and can choose actors normally." "Yes, General Manager Lucas. I will handle it properly. Please rest assured." The secretary in front of me has followed me for many years and can fully understand what I mean. Emma hates the dirty rules of the entertainment industry the most, but I am exactly the creator of these rules. I could help her block these things before, but now it's unnecessary. General Manager Lucas, there's another thing. Just now, Abel sent an invitation again, sincerely inviting you to attend their press conference. The chairman also ordered that you must go. Otherwise, he will come to you in person. Before that, the Asian general manager of Abel had sent me a letter several times inviting me to attend their press conference. But considering that Emma would also be at the meeting, and I didn't want her to know that I was the dirty entertainment industry superior in her eyes, I had been refusing. For this reason, the chairman of the group, that is our family's old man, called me several times. In recent years, I have pushed off a lot of these activities for Emma, so that people in the circle are wondering if the president of Lucas Group has become a monk. At this time, I suddenly realized how much human material and time I had wasted on Emma before. So, I said to the secretary, "Reply to Abel and tell them I will go. Also, please call the old man and tell him that Lucas is back. He doesn't need to worry about the group's affairs and can concentrate on retirement." "Yes, welcome back, General Manager Lucas." A relieved smile appeared on the secretary's face, and then he withdrew from my office. I changed out of my cheap casual clothes, fixed my unkempt hair for a long time, and went to the Abel press conference as scheduled the next day. As a global leading cosmetics brand, Abel's launch event was held at the city's most high-end hotel. The attendees that day were basically prominent celebrities and entrepreneurs from the Asian region. Various media outlets crowded the perimeter of the hotel, making it impenetrable. My secretary parked the sports car outside the hotel and said to me, "General Manager Lucas, should I call and ask them to arrange for someone to clear these media personnel?" "No need. I'm already used to it." During these years with Emma, I had disguised myself as an ordinary person. These media outlets keep their eyes on all kinds of prominent figures every day. And I, the president of the Lucas Group, who had been out of the public eye for years, was not someone they would pay attention to. But the secretary was still worried. So I ordered him to park the car alone while I got out and headed straight for the hotel. Sure enough, these media only focused on photographing those well-known figures on the big screen and showed no interest in my unfamiliar face at all. Just as I handed my invitation to the security guard at the door, a thunderous shout came from behind me. "Emma, Emma, Emma!" I turned around when I heard the sound and happened to see Emma stepping out of that red Ferrari with a slick-haired man on her arm. Emma was extraordinarily beautiful today, and every frown and smile of hers seemed to have a certain magic. I had forgotten that she had a good natural foundation, and with a boost of Abel's brand cosmetics, she naturally stood out from the crowd. Now she was no longer the little-known star who had been forced to drink at the dinner table back then. She skillfully greeted the surrounding media and fans, and her white and slender arm naturally rested on a man's arm, looking both delicate and graceful. However, the moment she saw me at the door, the smile on her face froze instantly. The man beside her noticed her unease, so he followed her gaze and happened to meet my eyes. The secretary had probably shown me his photo before, but I hadn't paid much attention at the time because I was in a hurry to go to Emma's birthday. I didn't expect to see the real person now. Compared to Emma's embarrassment and unease, his reaction was much more straightforward. He took Emma's hand off his arm and held it tightly instead, then walked past me like he was demonstrating, threw 2 invitations into the security guard's hand, and said, "Today is a big day for Abel. You should do your job well, and don't let in any random people." After that, he provocatively raised his eyebrows at me and pulled Emma inside. In the face of his provocation, I just smiled faintly. Arrogance and being contemptuous of others are common problems among most newcomers in the entertainment industry. I had seen many people like him. After they went in, I also stepped into the hotel lobby. It could be seen that Abel had invested a lot this time. In the entire hotel, there were large-scale posters of Emma on every floor, starting from the top floor. At that time, I had just asked the secretary to reveal to them that Emma was my girlfriend, but I didn't expect them to go to such an extent. Emma was in front of me. As soon as she entered the lobby, she was surrounded by a group of people. Most of them were producers and brand representatives, all wanting to gain some benefits from Emma. Emma seemed to enjoy being surrounded and handled the situation with ease. Just as I was looking for my seat, Emma's boyfriend suddenly appeared out of nowhere and slapped a card into my hand. "I know who you are. You just want money, right? Here's 100,000 yuan. Get out of here quickly." 100,000. I played with the bank card in my hand and looked at the guy in front of me like he was a fool. It seemed that I had been keeping a low profile for so many years that even such a newcomer dared to act arrogantly in front of me. But my disdain was misunderstood by him as greed. He sneered and said, "It seems what Emma said is true. A person like you doesn't deserve her love. I'll add another 100,000. Don't let me see you again in the future. Otherwise, I'll make you pay the price." "Oh, price? What price can you, a little-known person in the entertainment industry, make me pay?" I looked at the person in front of me playfully, like I was looking at a clown. No one had dared to threaten me since I was born, and he actually made me a little curious. "Humph, have you ever heard of Lucas Group Entertainment Company Limited? Let me tell you, I'm about to sign a contract with them. I heard from Emma that you're just a small clapper loader. It's just a matter of one word from me to ruin you. Lucas Group Entertainment." When I heard this name, I almost laughed out loud. Wasn't he talking about my company? What did I say I was going to sign him? Wait a minute. The stack of photos the secretary brought last time seemed to be of recent newcomers, but that was just a short list. Who to sign specifically was still up to me. It was ridiculous that he took the short list as a signed contract. He really didn't know the fear of the unknown. Got scared, right? You should face the reality. You and Emma are no longer in the same world. Just get out of here quickly. Looking at his mean-spirited face, I suddenly felt a surge of disgust. I then took out my phone and called the secretary. "Hello, General Manager Lucas. I'm already in the underground parking lot, and we'll come up soon. No hurry. I just want to ask if there's a person named." When I said this, I realized that I didn't even know the guy's name. So I looked at him and asked, "What's your name?" "Damn, are you stupid? You don't even know me." He seemed to think he was a big shot and immediately became as irritable as a cat whose tail had been stepped on. I didn't bother to listen to his nonsense and said directly to the secretary, "It's Emma's boyfriend." "I see. It's Alexander." "Don't worry, General Manager Lucas. I've already crossed his name off the signing list and reached out to other entertainment companies. They won't sign with Alexander anymore." "Okay, I see." I made this call just to confirm whether the list the secretary showed me before was the signing list contract. Now it seemed it was. Who would have thought that as soon as I put down the phone, Emma's unhappy voice came from behind me. Lucas, I didn't expect you to be so vain that you would play such a childish trick. I hadn't deliberately lowered my voice when I was on the phone, so all my conversation with the secretary fell into Emma's ears, and I didn't know when she had stood behind me. I slowly turned around and happened to see Emma's angry face. She strode over to Alexander and stood with him, saying to me, I already made it very clear in the breakup text. We are now in two different worlds. Can you stop pestering me? If you want money, you can tell me on the phone and I'll give it to you. Emma, can you not think so highly of yourself? I didn't come here for you or for money. In fact, I have nothing to do with you anymore. I came because I received an invitation, that's all. Damn, do you think this is a vegetable market where anyone can come whenever they want? You probably bribed the security guard at the door to get in. Alexander casually pulled over a waiter and said to him, Hey, this person doesn't have an invitation, and sneaked in. Are you going to take care of it? The waiter politely dodged from his hand and smiled. Hello, sir. We have a real name registration system here, so such a situation won't occur. You must have misunderstood. After that, the waiter walked away quickly. Alexander's face looked a little ugly. At this time, Emma took the initiative to stand out and said to me in an almost commanding tone, Lucas, it's over between us. I ask you not to pester me anymore. Let's just pretend that today's incident didn't happen. Otherwise, I'll ask security to escort you out when the launch event starts later. Is this you giving me face? Should I thank you enough, Lucas? I don't know how you got in here, but do you know that every seat here has a name? When the launch event starts later, and there's no seat for you, even if I don't say anything, the organizer will ask you to leave. I advise you to leave quickly. As soon as Emma finished speaking, Alexander's eyes lit up. He grabbed Emma's arm and said, Don't be like that. How can we miss such a rare show? Then he shouted to the people around, Everybody come and see. There's a paparazzo who sneaked in here. People at the scene had always been highly sensitive to paparazzi. Upon hearing his words, they gathered around immediately, and I naturally became the target of public criticism. I looked around and found that these were all obscure figures to me. Yet they dared to cast disgusted looks at me, and some even spoke harshly. Emma's face also turned uncomfortable at this moment. She hadn't expected Alexander to suddenly draw everyone's attention. However, she wasn't worried about me, but rather feared that I might reveal our past and embarrass her. After all, in her mind, I was still that poor clapper loader. So, she generously said to the onlookers, Everyone, this is just a fan who's overly enthusiastic about me. Please don't make things difficult for him. Just let him leave. Then she turned to me and whispered, Lucas, go quickly. It'll be worse if this escalates later. Lucas, where have I heard that name before? Emma's voice was soft, but it was still heard by others. The man frowned and thought for a long time before suddenly realizing, I remember. Isn't the president of Lucas Group named Lucas? His words exploded like a bombshell among the crowd. Emma and Alexander both turned to look at me with incredulous expressions. But I didn't think being recognized here was something to show off. My expression remained calm, and their reactions meant nothing to me. Just as everyone was discussing my identity, a middle-aged man dressed like an entrepreneur shook his head and said, That doesn't seem right. I heard that General Manager Lucas has rarely attended such events in recent years, and even paparazzi don't know where he is. It's unlikely he'd be here, right? I heard that, too. Plus, Abel sent 7 invitations to General Manager Lucas for this event, but he didn't agree to come. I bet this Lucas is a fake. All seats here are assigned by invitation. Let's check if there's a seat for General Manager Lucas, and we'll know if he's a fraud. With the last person's voice, everyone instantly became hyper-alert and began searching the hall frantically. They checked every seat but found no sign of my name, and they finally relaxed. Especially Emma. The panic and confusion in her eyes had vanished, replaced by indifference. I knew it. How could General Manager Lucas be here without bodyguards? Especially William, his personal guard. He'd never go out without him. They seemed convinced I wasn't the Lucas Group president, so I became the vulnerable paparazzo again. Alexander even loudly called for security to throw me out. Just as the first floor was in chaos, a middle-aged man in a suit slowly descended from the second floor. He frowned at the noisy scene below, then stood on the stairs and shouted, "Quiet!" At the sound, everyone turned to look. When they saw who was on the stairs, they all gasped and fell silent. I stood there smiling, unafraid of the man. As soon as he stepped down, Alexander and Emma rushed over. "James, did the noise downstairs disturb you?" Emma asked cautiously with a forced smile. This man was none other than James, the Asian director of Able and currently Emma's benefactor. James didn't even glance at her. He snorted and said, "I'm here to pick up General Manager Lucas, and you can stop calling me James. It's General Manager James from now on." "General Manager James? Which Lucas are you talking about?" Alexander whispered, but James ignored him and walked straight toward me. As he approached, the crowd around me automatically parted to make way. James bowed deeply before me and apologized. "I'm sorry, General Manager Lucas. I didn't think this through, and you've been bothered here." James' sudden reaction left everyone stunned. It took Alexander a moment to recover, and he rushed forward to say, "General Manager James, are you mistaken? He's just a clapper loader." Slap! Before Alexander could finish, James slapped him hard across the face. Then he picked up a nearby champagne bottle, poured it over his hands, and washed them as if the slap had dirted him. "Oof, you blind fool. How dare you question General Manager Lucas' identity?" After that, James made a pleased gesture and said, "General Manager Lucas, your seat is on the second floor. I've arranged a banquet. Let's talk over dinner." "Good." I walked past Alexander and Emma without a glance and climbed the stairs. Just then, the secretary finally arrived. "General Manager Lucas, I've banned all of Emma and Alexander's commercial activities, and I've spoken to the directors. Is there anything else you'd like to add?" William reported as he hurried up the stairs. I always trusted his work, so I simply flipped through the documents and handed them back. "Investigate who the people on the first floor are, then handle it as you see fit." I'd endured enough humiliation downstairs. It was time to settle the score. The secretary nodded coldly. I knew he already had a plan. By now, sweat was pouring down James' forehead. Though he held a high position, it was all relative. In front of me, the Asian director of Able was hardly worthy of mention. After I went upstairs, the first floor erupted into chaos. No one had expected my identity to be real. Alexander regretted it deeply, wishing he could slap himself, but it was too late. Emma stood motionless, staring blankly as James respectfully escorted me into the VIP room. She knew that as Able spokesperson, she wasn't even qualified to dine with James at the same table. Shortly after, Emma's phone rang. It was her manager. She dazedly answered, and the manager's roar immediately came through. "Emma, who did you offend?" Several directors who already signed contracts suddenly canceled, and the subsequent endorsements called to terminate too. "What the hell did you do?" Only then did Emma react, and she looked up at the second floor in horror. Before she could say a word, the manager barked again. "Listen, Emma, I don't care who you offended. Go apologize right now and beg for forgiveness, or you'll be blacklisted." Click. The call ended. Emma was dumbfounded. Ever since she met me, her career had been smooth, and her manager had practically treated her like a queen. Now faced with this crisis, she was completely lost, not knowing where to start. At the same time, Alexander and everyone else on the first floor's phones began ringing nonstop. When they answered, their faces turned ashen. These were the most terrifying calls they'd ever received. When Alexander hung up, the light in his eyes died, replaced by hopelessness. His proudest films were all put on hold, and the crew he was about to join told him not to come. Worst of all, the Lucas Group contract was out of the question. His career was over. He no longer belonged in this industry. Meanwhile, James and I entered the VIP room. A banquet was indeed set up, but to my great surprise, someone was already sitting there, waiting steadily. When I saw him, I was shocked and blurted out, "Dad, weren't you in Amalda? Why did you come back suddenly?" Yes, the person sitting there was none other than Jasper, the highest authority in the entire Lucas Group, and my father. Ever since I joined the company, he'd gone to the Malda, and I'd visit him every year until I started dating Emma, and several years passed without a trip. I never expected he'd return. If I didn't come back, the company would be ruined by you, Dad snorted, waving for me to sit beside him. James and the secretary wisely stood aside, daring not to interfere in our father-son conversation. Lucas, I've heard everything. Letting a woman affect the company's profits isn't like you. Even worse, she'd dump you. Do you know how much damage that would cause our reputation if word got out? I know. I'm already figuring out how to make amends. I admitted I'd been irrational before, and if it weren't for William's diligence in managing the company, the situation would be worse. But now that I'd regained my senses, these losses were fixable. Amends aren't enough. I'm back to solve your lifelong major issue, marriage. So you won't be manipulated by love again. Seriously, even the president of Lucas Group has to face an arranged marriage. I feigned surprise. I knew he wouldn't pick just anyone, but he also knew I wouldn't blindly follow his orders. Just then, a sweet voice came from behind the VIP room screen. Lucas Gage, big brother, would you be satisfied if it were me? My spine tingled at the sound, and I instantly recognized the owner, Amelia. If there was anyone I'd feared since childhood, she was number one. The Amelia Group and Lucas Group were sister companies, and we'd grown up like childhood friends, but she'd been a wild child, tougher than me, so her father sent her abroad to study. I never expected her to be back. As the voice fell, Amelia emerged from behind the screen, and I was stunned. My memory of her was still of a skinny, tomboyish girl with pigtails who pinned me to the ground and beat me. Now, after years apart, she had transformed into a graceful young woman. I stared, and her cheeks flushed. She ran to my father, hugging his shoulder. Jasper Lucas Gage doesn't seem to be listening to you. How dare he? Dad slammed the table, about to lose his temper. Amelia quickly rubbed his shoulders to soothe him, then turned to me. Lucas Gage, see? You can't go against Jasper's wishes. Watching this old man and young girl act, I sighed. Helpless. I could only agree for now. The able launch was about to begin. When I stepped out of the VIP room with my secretary and Amelia, the corridor was packed. Alexander saw me and lunged to kneel, trying to grab my leg, but William pressed him down with one hand. His face was a mess of tears and snot, and my expensive suit couldn't afford his grubby hands. General Manager Lucas, please spare me. I was blind before. I'll do anything you say. He was a pitiful wreck, nothing like his earlier arrogance. I glanced down and smiled. Bark like a dog. What? Alexander froze, but by the time he reacted, I'd already walked past. Desperate, he dropped to all fours and woofed loudly, echoing through the hall. Good dog, but I don't need another pet, I mocked, turning to leave. Alexander collapsed like a broken toy as cameras clicked wildly. The official photographers hadn't even shot the products yet. But this spectacle would make headlines bigger than any ad. From now on, Alexander would be the industry's laughingstock, and I'd seen plenty like him. At the stairs, Emma blocked my path, red-eyed from crying. Once, this would have torn my heart out. Now, I felt nothing but irritation. Lucas, why are you doing this to me? Her first words baffled me. She dumped me. Yet here, she was blaming me. I waved for William to stop her and headed toward the stage. Emma screamed relentlessly, even shouting about our past for all to hear. Now everyone knew the Lucas president had neglected his duties for a no-name actress for 5 years. This scandal was as juicy as Alexander's dog act. As I prepared to speak, I glanced back at Emma. The last trace of pity in me vanished. This woman was nothing like the one I'd loved. She ranted on, exposing every favor I'd done for her until Amelia shoved her designer bag at James, stepped forward, and slapped Emma across the face. Smack! The sound silenced the room. Lucas is my fiancé. He has been for 5 years. I don't know where you crawled out from, but insult my fiancé again, and I'll sue you. Amelia snapped, her tone chilling everyone, including me. If I doubted her before, I didn't now. This was the same Amelia who'd once pounded me into the dirt. Emma's cheeks swelled instantly, but Amelia casually took her bag back, looped her arm through mine, and pinched my waist hard. You have terrible taste. If I hadn't stepped in, You'd be ruined today. I smiled faintly, covering her hand with mine. Don't worry, it won't happen again. The media captured our loving moment, destined for tomorrow's front pages. At the launch, I announced I'd be taking over Lucas Group and that Amelia and I would marry in this hotel in a few days, ending our 5-year romance. For the entertainment world, this was a bombshell, closing the door on countless starlets' dreams of marrying into wealth. Amelia spun a fictional love story that moved the crowd, but we both knew it was fiction. Did it matter? The result was perfect. Due to Emma's recent conduct, we're terminating our partnership. Our new spokesperson is Ms. Amelia, James declared. Amelia stepped on stage with a smile, while Emma crumbled to the floor like a discarded doll, her eyes empty. As Amelia spoke, Abel's staff swiftly replaced every Emma poster with Amelia's photos. The torn posters lay forgotten on the floor, just like Emma herself, broken, irrelevant. I thought Emma would give up, but to my surprise, she took to the internet to cry about her suffering. In her version of the story, I became the heartless man who abandoned a 5-year relationship for a political marriage. Her delusional fans conveniently forgot how loved up she'd been with Alexander just days earlier and turned their venom on me instead. But this was all trivial to me. No matter how vicious their online attacks were, they had zero impact on me. In fact, their outrage gave Lucas Group free publicity, boosting our artists and subsidiaries. Just because I didn't care didn't mean others didn't. William asked if we should teach Emma a lesson, but I refused. It wasn't out of lingering affection. Intervening now could backfire if rivals twisted it into a scandal. What I didn't expect was for Amelia to step in publicly. First, she blasted the brainless fans online, then hired an online water army to boost the Abel launch video trending. Nothing speaks louder than footage. Ironically, Emma had deleted all our photos after the breakup, leaving her defenseless against the tide of evidence. Her former supporters now turned on her like a pack of wolves, and Amelia's victory was decisive. When she marched into my office like a triumphant peacock, I didn't waste words. I pulled her into a searing kiss. Finally, I understood what I truly wanted and who I truly loved. Amelia didn't have to fight my battles. Yet, she'd gone all out for me, even speaking out as both Amelia Group's Aries and my fiancé. Only a fool would let someone like that slip away. She stiffened in surprise at my sudden kiss, but soon melted into it, surrendering completely. Let's get married. I panted when we broke apart. Her cheeks flushed, and she nodded shyly, speechless. With both families backing, the wedding went off without a hitch in the same hotel. Since Amelia was her father's only child, the Amelia Group would merge with Lucas after our marriage. Together, our combined influence would dominate Asia's entertainment industry. Thanks to my strategic moves, Amelia had skyrocketed to superstardom. A-listers begged to work with her, and directors literally dropped scripts at her feet. At the wedding, I received a gift from Emma. I didn't open it. I just handed it to Amelia. Inside was a predictable threat. She'd jump off a building unless I took her back. Childish theatrics like this didn't warrant a response. The wedding ended in joy, a perfect contrast to the drama outside. Later, William updated me on Emma. She'd never had the guts to follow through on her suicide threats. Unsurprisingly, she'd sunk to filming sleazy adult videos under financial pressure. Alexander's fate was even grimmer. Reduced to a plaything for wealthy socialites, he was a hollow shell, drained both physically and mentally. I read the reports in my office, feeling nothing but indifference. Those days were long gone. Then, a pair of soft arms wrapped around my neck, and Amelia's delicate face appeared beside mine. "Lucas, are you nostalgic for the past?" she teased. I tossed the files aside, laughing. "Just enjoying the comedy," I said, kissing her deeply. When we broke apart, she whispered in my ear, "Congratulations."